a memorial on the Las Vegas Strip on Tuesday for the victims of the shooting. A love of music drew many to the city. Hillary Swift for the New York Times. Want to get this briefing by email? Here's the sign up. Good morning. Here's what you need to know. Gunman's girlfriend returns to U.S. Mary Lou Danley, who was overseas when Stephen Paddock killed 58 people in Las Vegas and wounded hundreds more, arrived from the Philippines on Tuesday night. Law enforcement officials hope she can shed light on Mr. Paddock's motives. Here are the latest updates. Investigators shared new details on Tuesday, including surveillance measures the gunman had put in place and information about his weapons, some of which could fire hundreds of rounds a minute. Video from police body cameras was also released. A getaway became a trap. Victims in Las Vegas came from all over, drawn to a three-day country music festival. Here are some of their stories. We also profile the gunman's father, a bank robber and jailbreaker who spent years on the FBI's most wanted list. President Trump, who is visiting Las Vegas today, said, "We will be talking about gun laws as time goes by, but the shooting appears to have done little to change the gun debate in Washington. We need more water. We need more food." That's how a Puerto Rican mayor summed up the challenges in distributing aid 2 weeks after Hurricane Maria. President Trump visited the U.S. territory on Tuesday. He told officials they should be proud the death toll, currently 34, was far lower than that of the real catastrophe of Hurricane Katrina in 2005. To assist in the island's recovery, the president said his administration would help Puerto Rico wipe out $73 billion in debt. We look at what that would mean. President Trump gave away flashlights at a church near San Juan, PR, on Tuesday. Doug Mills, The New York Times. Uncertain future for gerrymandering. At the Supreme Court on Tuesday, there was something like a consensus that voting maps drawn to give one party an advantage are an unattractive feature of American democracy. But the justices appeared split about a standard to determine when the practice is unconstitutional. We looked at how the math of gerrymandering works. Nobel in chemistry. Jacques Dubochet, Joachim Frank and Richard Henderson were awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry today for developing cryo-electron microscopy, a method for generating three-dimensional images of the molecules of life. Dr. Dubochet works at the University of Lausanne, Switzerland, Dr. Frank at Columbia University in New York and Dr. Henderson at the MRC Laboratory of Molecular Biology, in Cambridge, England. The Daily, your audio news report. In today's show, we look at how the National Rifle Association became a powerful lobbying group. Listen on a computer, an iOS device or an Android device. Business. All 3 billion Yahoo accounts were affected by a previously disclosed attack in 2013, rather than the 1 billion reported last year. Equifax former chief executive told members of Congress that an error by a single employee had led to the data breach that exposed the personal information of almost 146 million people, sensing a trend. Protect your data. U.S. stocks were up on Tuesday. Here's a snapshot of global markets. Smarter living tips, both new and old, for a more fulfilling life. Disasters remind us to prepare our homes for the worst. Environmentally friendly travel doesn't have to break your budget. Recipe of the day: make chicken shawarma in the oven. A homemade version of the classic street food. Michael Krause for the New York Times. Noteworthy: take a ride in a self-driving vehicle. In today's 360 video, a driverless car service runs tests with older residents in San Jose, California. Partisan writing you shouldn't miss. Writers from across the political spectrum discuss the aftermath of the attack in Las Vegas and the debate over gun control in the U.S. Lincoln Center scraps $500 million renovation. The home of the New York Philharmonic will no longer pursue a gut renovation of its concert hall, but will seek simpler improvements for the venue, appraising Tom Petty. His songs were concise and thoughtfully distilled, modest and bearing but often a gut-punch in content and sly in delivery. Our music critic examines the legacy of the rock star, who died on Monday. Yankees advance. New York will face the Cleveland Indians starting Thursday after beating the Minnesota Twins, 84, in the American League wildcard game. At Yankee Stadium on Tuesday, the team celebrated its first trip to the American League Division Series since 2012. Ben Solomon for the New York Times. The National League playoffs begin tonight, when the Colorado Rockies play the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like it or not, the win-or-go-home format of the wildcard games seems here to stay. Our baseball columnist writes, best of late-night TV, the comedy hosts paid close attention to President Trump's trip to Puerto Rico. Quotation of the day: I think people are going to have to take steps in their own lives to take precautions to protect themselves. And in situations like that, try to stay safe. As somebody said, get small. Senator John Thune of South Dakota, the number 3 Republican in the Senate, suggesting that legislation could do little to prevent gun deaths. Backstory: 60 years ago, we entered the space age when the Soviet Union launched the first artificial satellite. Weighing almost 200 pounds, the Sputnik spacecraft was one of the world's greatest propaganda, as well as scientific, feats, The Times wrote, putting the finishing touches on the Sputnik satellite in 1957. NASA had orbited Earth for 3 months, sending out a series of beeps that were audible to amateur radio operators. Here's what that sounded like. Earthbound man, peering into the sky for a glimpse of the man-made moon, pondered its impact on his affairs, The Times wrote. In 1957, Soviet propagandists said the breakthrough proved that their communist social model was superior to the capitalism of the West. They also said that it had opened the way to interplanetary travel. Without question, it captured the attention of the U.S. and its leaders. No event since Pearl Harbor set off such repercussions in public life, one historian wrote. Sputnik burned up in Earth's atmosphere in January 1958, but test models and replicas continued to circulate. One American collector said he got an original spare Sputnik out of Russia by declaring its two halves as salad bowls. Patrick Bowler contributed, reporting, __________. Your morning briefing is published weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern and updated all morning. Browse past briefings here. If photographs appear out of order, please download the updated New York Times app from iTunes or Google Play. What would you like to see here? Contact us at briefing@nytimes.com. You can sign up here to get the briefing delivered to your inbox. Check out our full range of free newsletters here.